So I'm going to let you guys in on a secret about me, one that probably most people also enjoy, but I'm part of the problem, I guess. I love when people message me on Twitter or email me. Yes, you can email me, colethompsonwriting@gmail.com. It's in the description down below, talking about this program, this YouTube channel, and asking about things that they want to hear on the show. And who am I but a humble servant to you to oblige? I got an email not too long ago from a guy named Dan, and he said, "Hey, Cole, love the show. I'd love to know your thoughts on who was the most impressive team in college football for 2023 and what you believe could be their status going into 2024." Well, my definition of impressive is a little bit different than most, but let's talk about the Arizona Wildcats. If you are new here, welcome on into the channel. My name is Cole Thompson. I'm a radio show host based in Houston, and I talk college football daily. So if this is the type of content you enjoy, plus coaching searches, the transfer portal, anything going on with bowl games, and a bunch of other nonsense we call for our sport, make sure you smash that subscribe button down below. Leave a comment telling me your thoughts on the Arizona Wildcats breakout 2023 season. Tell your friends, your family, Wildcat fans, and college football aficionados everywhere about this channel, because we're on the race and we're so close to 1,000 subscribers. Then we're going for 5,000, then 10,000, then 100,000. And ladies and gentlemen, we know we're going to get there. So jump on in while the water's fine. Like I said, you want to email me questions about things you want on the show. It's at colethompsonwriting@gmail.com, or follow me on social media. Best way to stay in contact, at Mr. Cole Thompson. That way, the flow of college football conversations never have to stop. Arizona, damn good season. Damn good season. Like, can we just go ahead and appreciate from a 365-degree angle lens from miles away what the Wildcats did this year? Because even if you did believe that there was going to be continued growth in year 3 underneath Jedd Fisch, I don't think anybody expected 9-3 to be the overall outcome. Vegas certainly didn't. Did you see what the preseason odd total was for them? 4.5 wins. Well, they doubled down on that, and I think that they're the only team in college football to actually double down on what their win total was supposed to be. So that's my definition of impressive. It's over exceeding expectations beyond belief, to where even those inside the locker room probably were seeing their jaws drop when they realized what they've done. They're going to finish in the top 15 for the regular season of the AP and college football poll. I think that they're 14th in the country, right behind teams like LSU, who have a Heisman Trophy winner, and Oklahoma that went 10-2 and beat up on Texas, college football playoff team. So they fall right in line. But what's really interesting is seeing the buy-in and belief by these players underneath Jedd Fisch. Jedd Fisch was not a name that many people pegged to probably go down to Tucson. In fact, I would say many people were looking at the next big up-and-comer from the Pac-12, or maybe a name from the Big 12 that wanted to make the jump over to the West Coast, Best Coast. And instead, you go get the quarterback coach from New England. Okay, well, that's something. Definitely one that we didn't expect to be probably on our first radar. But lo and behold, it was always the best move for you. Keep in mind, this is a team that went 1-11, year 1, underneath Fisch. And then the next year, they went 5-7. And now they're playing in the Alamo Bowl against another ranked opponent in arguably, my opinion, the best non-New Year's 6 bowl game out there. I'm going to try to get credentials to be at that game because of how excited I am for what San Antonio gets to experience. These are two teams that have a great outlook for the future. And the bottom line is mainly young quarterbacks. You know what you're getting in Norman, Oklahoma with Jackson Arnold, and maybe this will end up being the blessing in disguise. And why you wonder, Dillon Gabriel leaving with one more year of eligibility? Yeah, he wasn't leaving because if he wanted a fresh start. He was leaving because he knew the Jackson Arnold era was starting. But did anybody expect this from Noah Fifita? Like, seriously, guy steps in, not expected to be the long-term starter. They all believe at this point it's still going to be Jayden de Laura. And throws for over 2,500 yards, 23 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, completion percentage roughly around 66.6%. Not to mention what you have with young playmakers, primarily at wide receiver. I mean, I don't know how many people thought Teteroa McMillan was going to be a household name, but the 6'5" wide receiver ended up finishing with 10 touchdowns, 1,200 receiving yards, 15.5 yards per play. Jacob Cowing didn't get over 1,000 yards, but he did find the end zone nearly a dozen times. And the defense, again, it's another move of showing progress for the future. This is a team that got convincing wins too. Like, They held their own as an unranked team against Washington in the playoffs. They nearly got an upset. And then once they got that confidence, we're talking about wins over Washington State. That was a ranked team. Oregon State. That was a ranked team. Great matchup against Oregon State, by the way. UCLA, another ranked team. Utah, ranked team. Arizona State, you won 59-23. And you nearly beat an SEC school. Went to overtime against Mississippi State. You get a win there. Now we're 10-2. 10-2 is probably number 12 and maybe a better bowl game. And then if you maybe find a way to close the gap against USC and not send that game into overtime, 11-1. And now we have a legit conversation about where Arizona is. Here's the bottom line, people. Arizona is leaving the Pac-12 along with everybody else because of the bureaucrats of college football decided to say the Pac-12 wasn't good enough and money talks more volume than actual pageantry. But do you think that Arizona in year one of being members of the Big 12 can't hang around? They absolutely can. They have a solidified quarterback, a young up-and-coming wide receiver, not to mention they are going to be a destination in the transfer portal, and they got the right coach. That's the bottom line. When you have 3 of the 4 key elements to your staff there in place, anything is possible, including making a jump to a new conference and already taking over as the face of the league. That's a possibility because coach check, progress check, quarterback check. The only thing you're missing now is a sign of consistency. That's the one element because everywhere else you are seeing everything fall into place to where you look at the early Vegas odds going into next season, Arizona is probably at least going to be a top 25 team in the preseason AP polls, not to mention, I would say top 3 favorite to win the Big 12. I mean, don't get me wrong, Utah's always going to be fundamentally sound. Oklahoma State's not going anywhere so long as Mike Gundy's running the show. And then you have other teams that certainly are going to be somewhat in the mix. Colorado, TCU, Texas Tech, not to mention UCF seems to be on the come up with Gus Malzahn at the helm. Houston has the right guy in Willie Fritz. But Arizona, they have everything rolling for them. And if they get to 10 wins this year, I mean, we're not just talking about grander expectations. We're talking about you have shattered the sound barrier of what preseason expectations were to what the end goal is. That's what we're talking about with a team like Arizona. This is a fun, young, up-and-coming roster with a coach that seems to have everything clicking for him at the right time. And there are now actual expectations and realistic goals to be set in place because if you watch this team grow. That is a key for me. And I always look at programs across college football landscape and I say to myself, what would I rather have? A great year, one great year, or consistent growth to where I know I'm going to be in this situation for years on end. Michigan State is a perfect example of this. One great year underneath Mel Tucker. You see the Doak Walker Award winner, Kenneth Walker, impressed like all hell. And you watch them go down to Atlanta and you watch them play in the Peach Bowl. Where have they been since? Now another head coach, now constant quarterback change, and a bunch of problems that are probably going to hinder their success in the Big Ten. I would much rather see 1-11, 5-7, 10-3 turn into 11-2, or even better, a college football playoff appearance. And yes, all those things are plausible and in reach for the Wildcats for next season. Don't believe me. Believe the buy-in on what you see on message boards. Believe the buy-in on what you see from fan bases and boosters. And the fact that Jedd Fisch was getting looked at for another Power 5 job, that was another element there. You kept the guy that was building something promising with a lot of potential in Tucson for a new age and a new era of Wildcat football. Not many teams can say they get that. And you do. So in my opinion, yeah, Ole Miss was very impressive, but I also expected them to get to 9 wins. They got to 10. I thought Missouri was extremely impressive, and they certainly feel like a team on the come up. I had them as a 6-win team. They got to 10. Good for them. But I thought Arizona was going to falter and fall apart this season and probably still be that 5-win roster, maybe 6-6 at best. They doubled down. They nearly got to 10 wins, and if they beat Oklahoma in San Antonio, 10 wins is on the table. A top 12 status for the end of the season is on the table. Maybe even top 10 status is on the table for a team like the Wildcats. They certainly are on the come up. This is a team I'm very excited to see. And anyways, anytime you want to ask me a question, just go ahead, send me an email at Mr. Cole Thompson. I'll answer it live on air. I have no problem talking about it because now I get to talk about teams that people are interested in, like the Wildcats. Thanks, Dan, for the message. And by the way, Wildcats, I've been looking at them at maybe finding a home somewhere in that 8 to 12 range when it comes to the college football playoff for 2024. Thank you so much for watching that video. Don't hit the X button yet. Make sure you hit subscribe to keep up with all of our daily content found on Just Saying It and anything else that we post on this channel. Bye.